Hello and welcome, I'm Tefera Ghedamu. What prompted the recent riots in the Amhara and Oromia regions, and how prepared is the government to address people's grievances? My guest today, the Government Communications Minister Getachew Reda, insists that this is no longer going to be business as usual. Getachew Reda, a very warm welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So all these riots and protests primarily in the Amhara region, also in parts of the Oromia region, came one after the other in quick succession. I mean, you were caught by surprise, were you not?
Well, I wouldn't say we were caught by surprise.
Well, I understand there was ons and offs.
The writing was on the wall, yeah. To the extent that there was an element of surprise, it was probably the extent of violence that was involved, especially on top of the kind of frustration that the youth had, and in fact mostly legitimate. There was also a marked presence of violent elements that further precipitated the unrest.
Yeah, but why don't you see the legitimate concerns of the people? I mean, wouldn't that be enough to get started?
Oh yeah, obviously one has to start with addressing the legitimate concerns of the people. So you see, I mean, there are obviously two possible sources of frustration. The first, of course, is the objective conditions that give rise to unmet expectations on the part of the public, which we can fairly characterize as results of the very success that EPRDF has unleashed as a result of its progressive policies. It has created a situation where millions and millions of people are in school. Millions and millions of people have seen the benefits, but we still have a long way to go before these benefits are indeed enjoyed by the whole spectrum of the society, the whole cross-section of the society. So whoever has expectations, unmet expectations, will obviously feel unrepresented, if you will, and these frustrations will lead to the kinds of unrests that have been springing up here and there. But
here and there, or the frustrations were felt across the board in the Amhara region?
Well, it's not just about the Amhara region. I mean, as far as frustrations go, there are frustrations here and there. I mean, like I told you earlier, EPRDF has been particularly successful in creating a situation where development becomes the one unifying mantra in the country. And the pace with which this development has been achieved, while particularly amazing in many parts of the country, we still have a long way to go before the kind of proper policies that have already proven their mettle, in fact benefit people in all walks of life. So there are still people, despite the hope on the horizon, feel neglected or abandoned, if you will. So even those who have been benefiting as a result of the successful changes, such as youth who have graduated from college, if they are not getting a measure of employment that they believe they deserve, and of course they are bound to express their frustrations in different ways. So this is the first source of the frustration. These are objective conditions that precipitated such a frustration. So we have been victims of our own success, to put it this way. Secondly, there have been failures on the part of the leadership as well.
That's what I'm driving at.
Yes, you see, EPRDF is not your quintessential predatory African government. What EPRDF succeeded the last 20 years is to create a state apparatus that is absolutely different, a clear departure from the traditional predatory African state, which uses state power in a manner that benefits the people at large, not as a sort of patronage mechanism used to line the pockets of officials and their cronies. So EPRDF has been very successful in creating a state apparatus that is primarily driven by the need to protect the interests of the people. But with time, there is bound to be an erosion of such such single-handedness.
That's what you admitted in your party conference just that happened. When was it? About two weeks back?
2 weeks ago.
Because
yes.
people who are in government are involved in the process of making money,
Yes.
in the process of which they have sidelined the interests of the people.
Exactly.
So there is quite a disconnect there. You've admitted that.
Yes, because it's quite obvious. If and when leaders who are supposed to be in the business of serving people, who are in the business of benefiting people, are led astray, and rather focus on enriching themselves, lining their pockets with ill-gotten money, squandering public finances.
These are the people in the leadership positions
Yes.
within the EPRDF.
Yes.
Which means, so what makes the EPRDF any different from other? I mean, the EPRDF government any different from other African governments? As you're trying to.
So what I'm saying is, what we have within the leadership people who have obviously strayed away from the progressive positions of EPRDF. But EPRDF still is a party that has been consistent in delivering on its promises to the people. We still have a track record that shows that on top of the achievement that we have made the last 20 years, we still continue to register significant achievements in many fields. What we are saying is the frustrations that many people are feeling currently, like I said, on top of the objective conditions that led to those frustrations, there are also weaknesses within the party itself. But the party, by and large, is still single-handedly addressing its own problems within itself. And of course, this is about bringing EPRDF itself back to its origins. And of course, this is a very important progress. And EPRDF, what we are saying is some elements within EPRDF are not treading along the same path that the party has been going on for the last 20 years. And those significant achievements that we have made are still intact. We still continue to register significant growth in many of our endeavors, but the setbacks here and there, like I said, could only be explained in terms of the kind of weaknesses that have been observed within the party itself, which doesn't necessarily mean the party has ceased to be relevant. It is even more relevant today than ever.
So in the Amhara region, people died. You agree that,
Yes.
and several people. I mean, you didn't expect this many people to die in the process of coming out their religion.
It's really sad that people had to die.
Why should people die? Why should people die for coming up with legitimate?
Look, while the government fully recognize the legitimacy of their frustrations, very unfortunately, the manner in which the frustrations were expressed were less than wholesome. In many parts, utter violence was involved in the expression of such frustrations. And frustrations cannot be vented by burning down buildings, by attacking civilians, by attacking people holding different opinions than those who are expressing their frustrations. And of course, like I said earlier, it's not just the frustrated youths who were part of this street action, street protests, whatever, this violence. Mainly people who had all kinds of calculated moves were also playing a very dangerous role in making the situation very difficult. So obviously, people who should not have died for expressing their frustrations, their legitimate frustrations, were killed simply because of this totally uncalled for manners of expressing their frustration. And secondly, even those security forces who were trying to protect the interest of the people, who put their lives on the line in the interest of the peace and order, had to find themselves at the receiving end of such violent moves simply because they were there to protect the interest of the public. So, I mean, the situation was absolutely tragic in the sense that lives were lost from all sides, and those lives should not have been lost.
So, external actors, that's what you're pointing at. Who are these external actors that you're alluding to?
Well, external actors, there are
Are the usual suspects, or what?
No, well, I don't know if one has to put it that way, but the rejectionist elements in the Ethiopian diaspora, who have always been trying every means at their disposal to short-circuit the process to power.
It's not their problem because you didn't bring them to your fold.
Well, I don't think it would be a good idea to bring people who are in the business of dismembering the country into some kind of negotiated arrangement. I mean, simply because someone finds himself in the corridors of power doesn't make him less violent. But more importantly, it's only through the constitutional process that such powers would be more than welcome to play their part. But people who are very adamant about the need to dismantle the constitutional order itself, I don't think, I mean, it would be foolhardy for anyone to expect the government to extend an olive branch to these people. Well, even if we do that, these people are not interested in anything less than the dismantling of the constitutional order.
So the door is closed as far as that's concerned? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the door will only be open to those who are willing to live and abide by the Constitution. I mean, they don't have to agree with every word of the Constitution, but to the extent that they have differences with regard to the Constitution, at least they have to go the constitutional way to change even the Constitution itself.
But you're saying what you're saying now, but people like Brahanu Nega, who is in charge of one of the opposition forces based outside of Ethiopia, in a recent New York Times story, he gives you 4 to 5 years. You're out. For some, it's the beginning of the end for the EPRDF.
Well, I don't know. Whoever wants to march from Asmara to Addis Ababa, they are entitled to their daydreaming. I don't think such kinds of stories of an adventurer making wonders through the bushes and making his way to Addis Ababa, that is more a figment of people's imagination than reality. But these people are creating all kinds of problems. They are infiltrating terrorist elements, terrorist outfits here and there. So to that extent, they need to be checkmated. But it's not like we lose sleep over such.
But considering what has happened in the last several months across Ethiopia, in several parts of Ethiopia, you're not saying these people don't matter.
No, I'm not saying they don't matter. They do, because they are sending sackloads of cash, wads of cash, which they...
Do you have evidence for that?
Oh, yeah, we have evidence, ample evidence, that they are distributing money. Of course, they are doing it at the behest of sponsors who are much wealthier than themselves.
Are you ready to mention names here?
I don't see it's going to be helpful at this point in time, but we'll use whatever channel is necessary to make our points.
Gelindo, the prison outside of Addis Ababa, just outside of Addis Ababa. Yeah. How many people died? 23 people died.
About 23,
23 people died. And what was the cause? Do we know?
Well, we'll exactly know what the cause was once the investigation is over. But if indications are any guide, there probably was a foul play involved. Whoever was responsible will, like I said, be exactly known once the investigation is over. But what transpired in Gelindo was another sad incident where the lives of inmates was lost. And of course, the entire federal prison in Gelindo, I would say it's destroyed completely. And the prisoners had to move, the inmates had to move to other federal prisons outside Addis. But once the facility is rebuilt, they'll be back. So far, we've been able to identify many of the fatalities, the victims, and it's very unfortunate that such incident had to happen. Of course, the government feels that such tragic days should not have happened, but it was quite unfortunate. Like I said, there is every indication that some foul play was involved.
Do you think, I mean, if there is some foul play involved here, do you think this is going to happen again? Another foul play is going to happen somewhere else?
Well, you cannot always rule out a possibility of things happening. But I wouldn't say it's very likely, but yes, you cannot rule out any possibility. But the government will do everything in its power to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
So what is your assessment here as you see it here and now? I mean, have things calmed down? What is it?
Look,
What is it?
Yes, I mean, things are calming down.
You've sent the army up north.
Not so much because of the presence of the army. No matter how big a presence of an army, things would not die down if the people are still intent on expressing their frustrations. One of the reasons why things have died down, I will tell you, is because the so-called protesters took on a very violent form, to the point of terrorizing the very public whose frustration they were supposed to vent in public. So, you know, it is the people themselves who rejected violence. And if you see in North Gondar, whatever forms of violence the protests were taking, they were outrightly rejected by the people themselves. If it wasn't for the rejection of the people, no amount of police presence, no amount of army presence would have brought calm and order in that part of the country. Same thing with in some areas, it wasn't just people who were expressing their frustrations. You have extremist elements armed to the teeth, terrorizing the public, doing everything they can to drive a wedge between people who have lived for hundreds of years in toleration, respecting each other's values, respecting each other's differences. And then it was the people themselves who rejected these things out of hand. So ultimately, the success of the efforts of the government to bring back normalcy will only be successful to the extent that people are willing to lend a hand in it. And of course, there is every reason to believe that the people are fully supportive of the government's efforts to bring peace and order.
The tourism industry is heavily affected, and the travel advisories are still there. The image of the country as far as foreign direct investment is concerned is getting shakier.
One thing I should say.
What is going to happen, you think, in the next few weeks, months?
One thing I have to underline is that this is more like a hiccup. I mean, these problems are transient in the sense that as long as there is a party and a government that remains committed to addressing these problems, to addressing these frustrations of the people, and of course it has within itself the arsenals necessary to make sure such measures are taken, and then the people are capable of the kind of resilience which is required to bring situations back to normal. And of course there is every indication here and there that things are going back to normal. With regard to travel advisories and the effects on tourism, by the way, tourism employs hundreds of thousands of people. And one of the areas that have been affected as a result of this is North Gondar and some parts of Amhara and even Tigray. I mean, people realize that it's not just about disturbance here and there. It's about losing of livelihoods, and one has to take stock of the need to restore stability, not necessarily because tourism is a foreign currency earner, but more importantly, it is a source of livelihood. And yes, the people themselves realize that, I mean, people shouldn't hold back their frustrations simply because tourism is going to be affected. To that extent, they have been expressing their frustrations, which is a good thing, but the government would have liked for the frustrations to be expressed in a manner that didn't run counter to the very interest of the public itself. And of course, what I would say is our people are capable of the resilience that's required to bring the situation back. And of course, the leadership in this country is also more than willing and committed to addressing the challenges that have created the frustrations in the first place.
What is your government going to do as the new year, the Ethiopian New Year, dawns, you think?
Well, like I said,
there are several promises that the Prime Minister has promised.
The leadership will restore the kind of developmental state apparatus that was able to create the miracle, the economic miracle that we have achieved the last 20 years in the first place. So it is all about restoring confidence in public service. It's about restoring the people's confidence in the capability of the state to deliver to the people. And this is all about bringing that original APRDF position where state is not a source of private wealth for public officials, but a source of development that equally benefits people in all walks of life. And of course, there is that commitment, and whoever is within the party, whoever is within the leadership, has accepted to take whatever, to do whatever it takes to make sure that that happens, even at the expense of losing whatever they were entitled to in officialdom. So, yes, there is that commitment because we owe it to the people, and if this country, this wonderful country, Ethiopia, is going to survive, not survive because it is based on solid foundations, but survive with the kind of economic miracle it has been achieving, with the kind of strides it's been making in improving its democratic governance, and then such measures will have to be taken, even if it requires chopping off some gangrenous fingers for sake of saving the entire body politic.
Well, Getachew Reda, again, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you
on
the show.
Thank you. My pleasure.